lives. Glands, the body's busiest factories. And hormones, the chemicals they produce. Find out how they keep you running like clockwork. Next on Body Atlas. We're not entering a world of psychedelic art. Quite the opposite. This is the real world. These crystals are hormones. They control every one of us, every second of our lives. They're the bridge between our inner body and the outside world. They determine when we feel angry and when we feel happy, how tall we grow, what sex we are, and whether to make love or war. These are the chemicals that control the rhythms of our lives. Everyone has a daily rhythm, a natural 24-hour cycle that controls our bodies. The biological clock is usually in the background of our lives. It ticks silently along with the other routine events of the day, waking, eating, sleeping. But it wasn't built to cope with air travel. Changing a wristwatch in a new time zone takes only seconds, but the biological clock can't be reset so easily. As it gradually catches up, we suffer days of tiredness and disorientation. The classic signs of the 20th century affliction, jet lag. Jet lag is a side effect of chemical warfare within our bodies, a clash among the hormones that control the biological clock. The brain has an instant control system, the electrical signals that flash along a network of nerves. A bit slower, but equally important, is our chemical control system. Commands come from several different glands, each pumping out different chemical messengers, the hormones. The pancreas is one gland that's in charge of digesting food. It squirts its hormones into a surrounding labyrinth of blood vessels. Day in, day out, the ebb and flow of hormones in our blood orchestrates our daily rhythms. Any disruption is a serious problem for Chris, a commercial airline pilot. He flies 10,000 miles a week, resetting his watch by several hours every day. Chris copes by always eating and sleeping according to his schedule back home. Passengers arriving in a different time zone don't have it so easy. Their biological clocks have to adjust. If we had only one biological clock inside us, it wouldn't be too difficult. But our bodies have many internal clocks, as different glands keep to their own schedule of producing hormones. At home, Chris's glands naturally work in harmony. They coordinate their activities so that his body is ready for action each morning, setting the fundamental cycle of sleep and wakefulness. Every function of our bodies changes from night to day. and even from season to season, under the influence of the most basic of our body clocks. No springs, no cogs, no hands. This biological masterpiece lies deep inside the brain, in a region called the hypothalamus. Here, two tiny bundles of nerves keep up a daily rhythm, the unceasing tick of the human clock. Like any timekeeper, it must be checked regularly and reset if necessary. This is the job of another region of the brain, sometimes called the third eye. At night, it releases the hormone melatonin. The production of this hormone stops each morning as soon as our eyes detect daylight. The falling level of melatonin wakes us up. Dawn is constantly resetting Chris's basic clock to a 24-hour rhythm. His brain attempts to keep all his bodily rhythms in order through the pituitary, the master gland. This tiny lump of tissue, weighing only 1/40th of an ounce, has immense power over the whole body. It releases half a dozen different hormones, each with its own task. One of them helps our bodies to grow. But most of them are tailored to trigger other glands lower in the body. The chemical instructions tell these glands to produce their own hormones. As a result, different hormones are at work on different parts of Chris's body at different times of the day. Early each morning, Chris's pituitary targets the pair of adrenal glands which sit on his kidneys. They tune up his body and mind for a peak performance during the daytime. Hidden under a layer of fat, the adrenal is actually two different glands, one inside the other. The outer layer starts off the daily cycle of hormones. Chris's adrenal glands begin producing the hormone cortisol in the early hours of the morning. It peaked when he woke up. As the morning tonic ebbs away, the inner part of the adrenal gland begins releasing the alertness hormones, adrenaline and noradrenaline.
We're departing runway 26 left at Gatwick on a Seaford departure. The first block altitude is 3,000 feet. The aids are set as required. Runway's dry, the weather's good.
Flying a plane can be stressful. Chris relies on the adrenal hormones to keep his mind and body in top form. A sudden threat causes these hormones to rise dramatically, even when the disaster is in a flight simulator.
Only major problem up to 80 knots. Above 80 knots and up to V1, which is 125, will stop only for any fire warning.
Adrenaline makes us afraid, and noradrenaline makes us angry. Because they're produced together, we can experience fear and anger at the same time. When we sense danger, the brain sends nerve signals directly to the adrenal gland, triggering an instant surge of these anger and fear hormones. While we're awake, molecules of both hormones are coursing through our veins. These simple chemicals are almost identical. Just one atom separates fear and anger.
Flaps. 15 required, gated.
They peak when we're under stress. Whatever problems the flight simulator may throw at them, these hormones will help Chris and his co-pilot Tim cope.
Ready for departure.
Normally, the adrenal gland secretes 4 molecules of adrenaline, our fear hormone, for every one of our anger hormone. Still, the anger hormone has its positive side. Noradrenaline keeps us alert and helps us concentrate. The pilot of a 757 with 200 passengers on board, confronted by an engine fire on takeoff, needs to be in top form.
Thrust set. 80 knots.
Check.
V1. Right engine fire. Rotate 17.
Confirm that's the right engine fire.
Chris's brain first notices the alarm. His nervous system responds immediately. It sends commands to the muscles handling the controls. A moment later, the adrenal hormones surge through their bodies. A trained pilot looks cool, but he can't control the inner torrent of hormones. Breathing gets faster and deeper, providing more oxygen. Chris's pupils dilate to improve his eyesight.
F80.
F80.
Flap 5.
Flap 5.
Saliva and mucus dry up, increasing the size of the passages to his lungs. His heart beats faster, providing more blood for the brain and muscles. Increased perspiration cools his body.
Fire the other bottle.
His muscles tense and tighten, preparing for rapid or vigorous movements.
Is disarmed.
Low priority functions like digesting food are postponed to conserve energy.
Cat's been fired. And the remaining bottle has been fired. APU, start.
Even his blood has been altered. It is now more efficient at fighting infection and would clot more quickly.
$50, 30, 20.
Chris's blood has been packed with adrenaline and noradrenaline through the whole simulated emergency. But as soon as the tension passes, the hormones are broken down. Within 10 minutes, their levels are back to normal.
That's at 123. Confirm we have no visual outside fire and fire trucks on the way.
Even before we're born, hormones are beginning to structure our lives. This 9-week-old fetus, seen inside its mother with an ultrasound scan, is tossing and turning under the influence of the wake-up hormone, cortisol. After 15 weeks, the baby's thyroid gland starts to pump out another vital hormone. Thyroxine makes sure that all the child's organs are growing at the proper rate. In very young children, thyroxine controls the growth of nerve cells. But in all of us, it has another task. It sets the rate at which we turn food into new body tissue. Each day, the average adult body has to renew about half a pound of muscle and tissue. We all have different levels of thyroxine, so some are better at turning food into body tissue than others. Thyroxine is another fairly simple molecule with a role out of proportion to its size. It determines the rate we burn up the body's reserves of fat and how efficiently we use the food we consume. It's also our thermostat, keeping our bodies at a constant temperature. During their stressful 4 hours in the simulator, Chris and Tim used up a lot more energy and wore out more body cells than usual.
Good. So Brunei and 7...
Now that the tension has gone, their energy must be replaced. Their bodies need food and liquid to repair all the wear and tear. They feel thirsty and hungry.
Overall, the detail went very well. Just 2 points I want to comment on, Chris. The engine failure...
The brain, in particular, feels the strain. It's fueled by blood sugar, called glucose, dissolved in the bloodstream. Glucose is a source of instant energy for all parts of the body, but it's the only food the brain can use. When blood sugar runs low, we feel tired and faint.
2 points I could really pick up on as
When body chemicals are out of balance, it's another job for the hormone system. This time, the pancreas swings into action. It sends instructions to its larger neighbor, the liver, the storehouse of the body's spare sugar. After we've eaten, levels of blood sugar go up. The pancreas pours out insulin. This hormone instructs the liver to remove sugar from the blood and store it for later use. Between meals, the blood sugar falls. The pancreas turns down the insulin supply and steps up the flow of a second hormone, glucagon. It's virtually the opposite of insulin. Under the influence of glucagon, the liver puts sugar back into the blood. Glucagon is a far smaller molecule than insulin, but it's just as active. These two hormones balance each other on the end of a chemical seesaw, as they control the amount of glucose in our blood. They also cope miraculously well with the strange and complex mixture of chemicals that we inflict on our digestive systems.
Especially with crudité.
As evening approaches, a shift occurs in the balance of all our hormones.
Nice way we get out there.
Okay.
Mealtime imposes its own rhythm.
How was your day?
Well, I was with Tim Finesse in the simulator.
While thyroxine controls the rate at which we burn energy, insulin follows the level of sugar in the blood.
I'll tell you what
It rises after a meal, then falls gradually. When it drops too low, we feel hungry. Usually, these two hormones are in harmony, but if they don't match up, we can feel like eating more than we need. As we age, our appetite remains more or less the same, but we burn energy more slowly, and we put on weight.
It's very, very bad.
Adrenaline also makes its presence felt at the dinner table. As its level drops towards the end of the day, our senses become less sharp and less discriminating. Food tastes better in the evening. The later you eat, the more you appreciate the food. With less adrenaline in our systems, we start to feel sleepy and ready for bed. But the transition from fully awake to drowsiness takes time. The levels of hormones in Chris's bloodstream gradually change, instructing his organs and systems to prepare for the night phase of his 24-hour cycle. Soon after we fall asleep, the body moves into its repair phase. The master gland, the pituitary, now begins to step up its production of growth hormone. This chemical makes children grow by lengthening their bones and muscles, but it's also essential for adults. Growth hormone instructs the cells to repair the wear and tear of the day. The amount of growth hormone in Chris's blood rises an hour and a half after he's fallen asleep. At the same time, adrenaline is at its lowest level. During deep sleep, the body is at its most defenseless. Another day, another plane load of passengers, another set of hormones trying to come to terms with a new time zone. Our blood transports dozens of hormones. No one knows for sure how they interact and affect our brain and our emotions. Fly from west to east, for example, And the jet lag lasts twice as long as it does when you travel from east to west. Not all of our hormones are as vulnerable to our travel plans. Some pulse to a slower rhythm. Hormones are more than a clock, more than just chemical messengers. Together, they operate the controls of the most complex system we know, the living body. When we are beset by a hostile world, hormones adjust our internal chemistry to help us survive. In quieter moments, they are just as busy, keeping the body running smoothly. Billions of years of evolution have created these unique chemicals to monitor our health.